Right, it's Tuesday night, it's time for The Last Word. Good evening and welcome. This is a show that looks at data, insight, and using that we glean to get the truth. Every week we pick a topic, we get into it, we dissect it, we look at various matters and aspects, and we engage to find out what is the truth of it. And that truth is what we call The Last Word. Tonight, we are looking back into 3 years. 3 years ago, on the 13th of September 2022, William Samoei Arap Ruto finished taking 2 oaths of office and assumed office as the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. 3 years later, has he delivered on the promises that he made to the people of Kenya? Has he lived up to the mandate that he was given by the people of Kenya? That is the topic that we are asking ourselves tonight. And of course, I am not alone. My name is Eric Latif. I have with me Zaha Indimuli. She is our resident Gen Z and straight shooter feminist who is never afraid to ask the tough questions, always going for something deeper than just the surface level answers. We also have Sharon Momanyi. She is a multi-award winning journalist with years of experience searching for truth and impact, and every single day she's always looking for that impact that affects the common mwananchi and what it means. My name is Eric Latif. I'm a journalist. I ask the questions, I start conversations, and even when you think that that question is a bit too hard to ask, unfortunately, I don't think it may be too hard to ask. So that's what we'll do. So tonight, we're asking that question. Has President Ruto delivered on his promises 3 years on? We have a poll on our digital platforms. We are live streaming this show on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. And please, if you go to those platforms, you can participate in those polls and vote. We have a live audience with us here tonight, plus a panel that will be helping us to dissect the issues. We have Brian Kiprono, who is a Director of Strategy Execution in the Executive Office of the President. We have Ian Mutiso, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Gabriel Muduma, Deputy Government Spokesperson, is also here with us. And we have an economist, William Ramogi, also to engage on these particular issues. We also have a very, very active audience with us tonight, and they will clap so you can just know that they are many. They are legion. They are all of them here, including Mwanase Ahmed, who's an active citizen, and very many others. And we'll be engaging with them to ask ourselves this question: has William Ruto delivered on the promise 3 years on? Let's get straight into it. We first start with what we always do, the hot button. Issues that have been, burning throughout the week. And we'll start with Sharon. What's been your hot button this week?
Right, so the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam was just inaugurated a few days ago by Ethiopia. And there has been a lot of controversy, particularly among the 3 countries along the Nile River. And this is a project that has been more than a decade in the making. And of course, some of the issues have been to do with the operations of the dam, scarcity of water, survival. It's the classic case of, a country upstream harnessing its own resources for development, and the countries downstream, fearing for their own survival. And my take is this: I think that this does not need to look like a fight among enemies, but that this is a one-off opportunity for Africa to show that we can solve our own problems, This, obviously, Ethiopia has the right to harness resources within its country, for its own development. But the River Nile does not belong to any one country. It's a natural resource. And I feel that there's an opportunity for the African Union to lead the solution around this. Forget about all those treaties that were arrived at those old times in colonial period. But that this is an opportunity to have an African-led solution, perhaps form a commission that will bring on board not just representatives from the 3 countries of Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, but across Africa, have hydrologists, engineers, legal representatives, because this is the largest hydroelectric dam in Africa, and there's a lot that can be done to harness this as a power hub in the region. So let's look at this as a possible chance to have a blueprint for future cooperation in Africa. That's my hot button.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think, what you say is that it's, of course, brought in some tension among those 3 countries, Ethiopia, Sudan, into Egypt, but it's opportunity, like you say, for us to relook at how we relate.
Yes.
Because some of these deals were made with our colonial masters a long time ago, and there was being spearheaded by those colonial masters. It's about time that the African countries then decide we are running our own affairs.
Exactly.
And it's a way to do it.
And that we can solve, you know, conflict. Conflict is natural, you know, just what are the pressing issues, who can be the mediator, and then how do we go around it? Yes.
Indeed.
I find it very interesting when we call upon the African Union, but I think that's not the topic for the day. Well, my hot button brings us back to Kenya, where once again we're on the streets. This time, the Association of Staff in the University. So there is a 7-day strike that has been announced, and I'm glad that the government has its presence here, because maybe it would be good to alarm them that universities have been succumbing to a lot of understaffing, a lot of strikes, unpaid salaries, and they're asking for CBAs from 2017, 2021, all the way to 2025, amounting to 2.73 to around 8.8 billion. Those are teachers, those are staff members whose hands of higher learning are on their hands, and they're calling for a strike courtesy of the fact that their arrears have not been met. They're opposing a proposal by government to right-size staff, or rather to reduce the staffing within our universities. And for me, having seen what Moi University has already been, it's such a shock that just after the Ministry of Education had announced any other irregularities in terms of learning, we're also having the university staff members bring in the issue as well. But before we continue, the Secretary General, Constantine Wesonga, had something to say earlier today on the matters the same. Let's just take a look.
Get the word. The strike shall commence on Wednesday, 17th September 2025, and it shall continue until all the issues I've stated are implemented in total. 2.7 billion must hit our members' bank accounts. The 8.8 billion CBRAs for 2017, 2021 CBA must also hit our members' bank account.
Well, very interesting. You know, when you see a Secretary General doing this to their seat, it's not a joke. They will be in the streets tomorrow, actually bargaining between joining them, because some of us are still in university, and will we ever graduate? But importantly, let the government take notice that it's important that these staff members who are holding the higher education of this country at jeopardy as we speak should be attended to, and it's important that we recognize they have had arrears from 2017, and it's only due that if it's the only thing we can do right, let's pay our teachers. That's my button for today.
I feel like we have a lot of these problems that are clearly indicating we have a cash crisis in this country. Everybody is
Cash
on the
in the wrong hands.
All that, and I would want to get some reactions later when we engage our panelists, because we have representation from the Executive Office of the President. But that we have basic requirements, you know, basic services like education crippled in the country, and I don't see that we are scared enough. That's my problem. That's my issue.
It's become like a normal thing. It's like
Exactly.
CBAs are things to be agreed upon just to kick the can down the road. All unions will always complain about CBAs, particularly unions that sign CBAs with the government. I wonder whether the other unions that sign CBAs with the private sector have issues such as these ones. A CBA is signed, and then some years down the road you hear, you know, we have arrears.
Another strike.
Yeah, more
Also,
strikes
I
coming.
find it very funny, by the way, for Kenyans, CBA means collective bargaining. It's a collective bargain.
Yes.
So we're not talking about what they are necessarily due. We're talking about what they have asked and bargained towards. Something to think about as well.
And they had agreed on it. So we also have hot buttons from members of our audience, and I can see there's a gentleman here with a Che Guevara t-shirt, and I think he has something hot to say. Who's got the mic on this side? Hot button. Please stand up and let's hear your name.
Okay. for me to be delighted to honor this tantalizing achievement. My name is Trevor Seiko. I'm a student in the University of Nairobi. I'm studying economics, and I'm also
We'll be sorting out your mic. Is it okay?
it's okay.
Oh, we should have another.
Okay. Let's cross over to the other gentleman there who has a mic, as we sort out that mic.
Today it's so discouraging that the lecturers are going to concentrate, yet we have government in place. Now,
So the mics are not yet up, so we'll come to you shortly and hear the issues that you have to raise and get to your hot button. What happens with the hot button basically is, what is it that you have an issue with that you'd like to raise with the nation, and can we all hear it? At some point you can discuss it, but the important thing is that you're bringing it to the fore and everybody can get to discuss it.
Yeah.
Right?
Which are very key issues.
Yes. When those mics are getting sorted, let's get to our topic, Sharon.
Right. And the topic of the day, President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration has just marked 3 years since taking office, and we're doing an audit. You know, the promises that the president made to Kenyans, what we're going to achieve during his tenure, and just the progress, a progress report. What is being achieved, what is working, and what is, you know, what are the hits and misses. And of course, there are various pillars around which the president, you know, championing the Hustler Nation movement, promising Kenyans, you know, that services will be delivered to the ordinary Kenyans. And that's the question we are asking tonight. Do you think that President Ruto has achieved his promises to Kenyans 3 years on? And the various pillars we'll be looking at, because we want to base our discussion, and when we work towards the last word, on data, what has been shown to have worked. And we want to start by looking at the economy, debt, and cost of living. And of course, the president, time and time again, has been doing a public self-assessment of what his administration has achieved. And one of the key things that has been consistent in that is the narrative that this government has stabilized the economy, and some of the markers, you know, a reduced inflation rate coming down from 6.81% in September of 2022, and recently being at 3.56%. That is a show of a drop of inflation. And of course, the conversation also that has been following this is the high cost of living. And I just want us to make sense of this. Even as we see inflation rate drops, the shilling has, of course, started when President Ruto took power, that it was high, but has, and of course there were some shocks in between. At one point we were up to 150 above the exchange rate to the dollar, and that it has stabilized this far. But this is not being felt down by common mwananchi, because recently we did a poll ourselves showing just how much 1,000 shillings can afford the ordinary Kenyan. And I don't know if our mics are on now, so that we just start by getting a feel from the audience now of answering the question whether you think that President Ruto has achieved his promises 3 years on. There's the red side of the placards and the green side of the placards. If you think he has achieved the promises, then green would be voting yes. The KK administration is right on the mark to achieving the promises, and red is no. Let's see the votes from the room. Yes is green, no is red. Is the president and the administration achieving
You're free to be
the
honest.
promises?
Just raise it up. Be bold.
You're free to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of greens and a
Couple of
couple
greens,
of reds.
actually.
A couple of greens, a couple of reds.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
So I think we can take a yes, it's working view. There's a gentleman with a hat. I see that hand being very spirited.
You can pass the mic to him.
Say good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Murithi Alex. I'm a youth leader from Mwiki. Kasarani constituency. I think to be here today to address about this about the delivery of President William Ruto's government. The question you asked to get into business, you asked whether the president has delivered. Yeah, and I said yes, but yes is relative. For me, I think he has achieved it, but in his own world. In our world, because I think we have always been listening it.
What did you just say?
Yes, he has achieved it. Actually, listen to me and make my point. He has achieved it in his own world. Okay. Because on a daily basis, he convinces us, him alone and his counterparts and his colleagues, they are the only ones who know that our country is progressing in the right direction. But anybody, all literate people, all people who have studied, lawyers, engineers, and everybody, they say we are heading in the wrong direction. He says that we are not okay. So for me, I think the president is good, and actually he deserves to be given the presidency in 2027. But according to my English teacher, he taught me two definitions of who is a president. First, a president is an elected head of a state, which we have given him right now. But in 2027, President Ruto will get his presidency. The second definition, that is the main celebrant for a Eucharistic celebration. On the recent past, we all know that the president has almost changed to become a priest, going to the churches and everything. We all know him of his very famous song, Rorangwa.
Thank you.
So, my last word for him.
I think we get the point. We'll come back.
Just to say.
We'd like to take to leave it at that so we can continue with the conversation. On this other side, a red. So let's balance it. You had a red? Okay. Give him the mic and let's hear your name and why you think he has not delivered.
Thank you very much. My name is Moshir Wakagoni. I am a youth activist from Gatundu North, Kiambu County. And today I want to say that the president has not achieved anything he promised. In fact, he has managed to break the nation's spirit, whereby he has achieved a disillusionment to the people of the Republic of Kenya. Instead of prosperity, poverty. The economy of Kenya is crawling like an old amphibian on a hot tarmac.
Wow.
He gave very fat promises, just like an elephant, but with a thin delivery, like a starving goat.
Bona Leader,
So
let me ask you,
today,
you know, our question is very specific. Has he delivered on their promises?
zero promises delivered.
No promise delivered on?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we saw,
I think
we
we'll
saw a
take
couple
two.
of years.
And it's important to note that...
Yeah, I think there's some people who said yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
the ones who mean it, you know. Not the satirical yes.
Not the scientific yes.
Yeah,
let's
there's a
hear
yes
from
here at
the
the
gentleman
front,
here,
yeah.
yes.
And of course, there's a perceptive answer to this question. There would also be evidence-based answers. So if we can support our answers as much as possible with what you see, not just what you feel. Yeah.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Lev Sor. Professionally, I'm an optometrist. So actually, the president has delivered. For the past 3 years, he has been in office. For example, when you look at the economy, as usual, the president normally says he uses one example. For example, the price of unga. He normally says when he was when he was taking off the office, the price of unga was a bit high. But currently, the price of unga is at 160, depending on the type of the unga you want to buy. So those people were saying that the president has not delivered anything, that the people who voted actually for the president. So they are just kind of angry of the president, and that's the fact.
Okay.
So to me, the president had delivered, and
Just unga.
no, the economy is stabilized. Yeah, sure.
Okay, with unga as an indicator. Another red and green.
A couple of people
Green.
said yes.
We want to hear the green. So we've had 2 no's.
Anyone? Yes. Behind the other.
There's a. You can pass the mic to the gentleman in a hat.
We'll get to the reds. We see you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Kutosi Peter. For me, what I can say about the 3 years of President William Ruto, for sure he promised, and I'll speak maybe on education. He has delivered, but on a negative deviation. Because he has delivered on education, he promised to have equality in education, to have another education that is quality for everyone. For example, the system that we have. Exactly, it is good that he has brought change, but at the end of the day, the change is not surpassing the ground. So that is a change. Even if we see that he has not tried, he has brought that change of education, that change from SHA to SHIF, of which the system is okay, but it is not working. That's the problem. But that is a promise that he has delivered to Kenyans.
The change is not from SHA to SHIF, eh? The change is from
NHIF to SHA. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's another yes. Behind.
There's a yes. Uko nyuma kabisa. Let's get the backbenchers. Hapo. All right. And let it be a yes. Okay, not a conditional yes.
Yeah, so my name is James Aningo, a youth leader. And I can say President Ruto has delivered, but I can say partially. Because if we can see in the sports industry, you can see he has transformed the sports industry. Right now, Kenya is also going to the world level in terms of sports. So in that aspect, he has really delivered.
Okay. So we'll come back and continue the conversation. Sharon, you said, let's look at several pillars. You started with on the economic front.
Yes, and a focus, I think one thing that is really pinching the masses is the cost of living. And I just want to engage Mr. Kiprono. When this government came into office, one of the promises that the president made specifically was that the country is going to reduce public borrowing. The debt status of this country has been linked to the high cost of living because of the taxes we have, all these measures that are taken to do this. What is being done to ease this burden on wananchi?
Thank you for this opportunity. That is the radical call by His Excellency the President. And one thing is, if you see his leadership is about the bold, making life better, elevating the lowly to a certain. If we start, this is a Kenya Kwanza government. It had 5 better pillars, namely issue of agriculture, housing, talk about MSME, healthcare, and digital superhighway. That's a plan that was, a plan is a written document for the 10 years during his proposed tenure. We are now at 3 years, exactly 3 years, 3 days. However, during the term, the first year was what we call a transition year. He didn't have a proper budget around it, but he worked on the policies. Second year, we worked on the policies to see elevation of issue of agriculture, issues of MSME, issues of delivering the aspect of the digital superhighway and digitizing the country, and the housing. 3 years later, we can say midway, we have 5 strategies which the president has done. One is a plus in microeconomics. He has seen subsidize the issue of the fuel from wherever you are to where we are currently. The aspect of the dollar rate, that's what has been seen in the screen. Point number 2, he has acted on what we call the value chains. You've seen the value chain in the pillar of agriculture, the issue of cotton, livestock, revival of different mining areas and the likes of blue economy. Number 3, he has worked around, when we talked about MSME, Now we've recrafted another way on job creation. Aspect of you've heard about the Kazi Maju, the localization, having the housing projects to create local jobs, international jobs, and even the hybrid. The fourth, what we're working on under the presidency is what we call the social enablers. These social enablers now, we've recrafted two things, and the focus is on healthcare and the focus again on the education reforms. You've seen the education reforms, as part of it is the issues of financing, the aspect of increasing the TVET, because not every student can go to the university and the likes. Last but not the least, he's focused on what we call infrastructure for support. These enablers, the aspect of the sports. We are happy today as a country. One of the things that will go down during his presidency is the support of the sports, and specifically the sports infrastructure. We have now Talanta Stadium, sorry. We have the aspect of revival of the Kasarani. So if you go around those things, these are tangible things that we can talk of impact base. Now, ask yourself, out of these 5 in alignment to the better plan, that is a marking scheme that we are focusing on as the presidency and as a government.
Right, and you've actually gone ahead to give us an overview of the strategy, you know, the development strategy that the government has. I don't know, it's one thing to have the strategy, and I'm sure you know, Mr. Kiprono, that it always looks good on paper when you have something that you're working towards. But 3 years on, looking at those particular goals that have been put down, and I saw when you were talking about some of the reforms, like education reforms, a lot of heads were shaking in the room, because it's one thing what has been envisioned on paper, but where are we? How are we doing with education right now? Like capitation issues have been ongoing over the issues, even just streamlining the implementation of the new curriculum and all that. So the true audit, and I want to bring in Mr. Mudhama, to support Kiprono kidogo, that when you do a true audit of the same, and we started with the feeling of the economy, there's this macroeconomic plan, and I think we've had even this discussion on this show before, that on that level, things seems to be doing well, a stable and a growing GDP, inflation going down, but that how this translates to the feeling, the quality of life of wananchi is a totally different story. Yeah. And so do we want to focus on where the country is going, but where does that hustler who was at the heart of the president's campaign and blueprint for development, where is the welfare of that hustler?
Sharon, good evening, and good evening to our amazing and talented people. I actually see we have so many people from the universities, or is it? Yeah, you see, Brian has actually put in some amazing numbers, which is true, but also you've alluded to the fact of the feeling. For you to get the right answer to that question, and to be fair, I always tell people, if you want to do a good judgment in terms of fairness, you need to look at where I was or where we were versus where we are. So by looking into those two demographics, you understand the journey and how far we've come. You've just talked slightly about education. And when we were really talking to hustlers, we look at the data and we all agree, Eric and myself have been into this many times, engaging into the same conversation. And one thing we'll agree was, when you looked at the data then and now, remove the feelings, there is actually some element of tangibility. What am I talking about? One, education, we realized 10%, ladies and gentlemen, 10% of all the vulnerable children were making it to colleges. 10%. That number is real and true. So what am I saying? Was our education system skewed? And you need to look at this. After secondary school, Eric, so many people in our informal settlement, hapo ndipo masomo ilikuwa inaishia. Today you're talking something different. The feeling that you're talking about, and I'm glad my friend talked about unga, because that's what actually at one point got us out to the streets. Am I right?
Yeah.
To live kwa kofia. To live kwa kofia. And this has happened, not only with us, it has happened from way back when.
Yeah.
Right? So what ended up happening? It was not just a stopgap measure, no. People sat down and crafted credible, deliberate actions. Where are we today? We have farmers, 6-point-something million farmers in our database who receive fertilizer because that's where we subsidized production instead of consumption. And you may remember, there was a time we said, we'll subsidize unga when we managed to bring it to 100 shillings. It didn't last a month. Why? Because it wasn't tangible. Today, data speaks. We have 76 million, ladies and gentlemen, 76 million bags harvested of maize. It has never happened in the history of this country. That is data. What do we have? Right? It has never happened. Toka hapo. Subsidized fertilizer. Inafikia kila mtu. Before, do you know what was there? Brian can show you the facts. The middlemen are so many. So mimi na Eric tulikuwa tunanunua fertilizer because we know somebody and we resell it. All right? So we've gotten something right. You may not feel it now, but as time go by, if you now wage that to the economy, where we were spending top dollars to import what? Maize. Reserves zetu zinafanya nini? Our exchange reserve. That's what happens. Because we were nearly heading to become a net importer. Am I right?
So I think, Gabriel, the question to you is to connect what Brian told us, which was the plan and the strategy being executed, into the Mwananchi. As a government spokesman, as a communication person. As a communication person. So now we have more maize, as you said. And that is something that you can talk about. We have more maize in our stores. We have more maize being produced, okay? Let's talk about...
You use the right word. We are feeding.
Has that contributed to the reduction in the cost of maize flour, maize meal, okay?
Definitely, Eric, definitely. See, my friend here, and I'm actually not using data from Brian. I'm using data from my good friend here.
You're using data from the ground.
Because it's true. 200 and something to now 160, and in other places, there was actually one of your TV stations, no, not yours, but there was another TV station that actually did.
Is that the optimum price that unga should be when we have the most maize produced in this country in the history of Kenya?
And you know, the question probably you're asking, can we control maize price? We can't. But by producing more, that price, whether we like it or not, it will go down. In other places right now, you can get unga for 100 shillings. It was actually proved, that's why I was taking you. It was proven in one of the stations. They went around and indeed got unga, not these majorly branded ones, but you can actually get unga for 100 shillings or less.
Okay. Sharon went shopping a couple of weeks back, and we actually had it on this show. And she can tell you, how much was it when you spent 1,000? It was 1,000 bob that you,
it was 1,000 bob.
Spent. And also somebody else spent the same 1,000 shillings. What was it in the basket?
I remember we got a small cooking oil, like I think 250 ml, one packet of unga, tea leaves. We couldn't get milk and sugar, and we got bread. By the way, there were literally those items, and 1,000 shillings was done. And this we did to show, do you know how many people have 1,000 bob to shop every day, Gabriel, in Kenya? Not many, because against this is an ordinary average Kenyan who's probably paying, you know, getting a net of 20,000 sitting in their nini, and this is even a stretch for many. And you have to pay school fees, you have to pay rent, you have to pay, you know, survival. Actually, it's survival. There's no luxury.
Sharon, to just answer your question, and then pass the mic. Inflation notwithstanding, we have to be alive to the facts that this is a trend, right? When you
it's a trend?
This will be the trend. I mean, inflation. The 500 shillings I had 10 years ago will not afford me, you know, Yeah, those are just the facts. But
so
when
then
you look
is there a responsibility then to cushion Kenyans from this kind of shocks? Because surely we are talking about dignity, Gabriel.
Sharon, I think when I talked about securing our reserves to ensure that we are not becoming a net importer, that we are looking inwards. For instance, you've mentioned sugar. Do you know, for the first time, nearly in the history of this country, do you know the first time we've not imported sugar?
Really? How about the one that was caught?
Really? I've just said really, caught.
How about the...
You said something that was caught, an illegality. I'm just telling you a fact.
So we have not imported entirely?
We didn't import sugar.
Is Mumia's sugar function?
When you ask me, is it functioning?
I mean...
And the other day, we were looking at reviving all that particular sugar sector. And I think...
Okay, I hear you.
I think the question that we should be, leaning towards is, where are we heading?
Right.
We are looking at being sustainable in a way that we do not import. And that is where we are heading. And we are heading in the right direction.
I hear you. I have a question. I was in the protest last year, and I'm in a show that I'm rendered to speak data, insights, and critical analysis. And I'm going to be very real with you right now. You've mentioned policies. I just want you to name me one policy that the government has done that has alleviated anything you have said. Just one. And then to Mr. Kiprono, I've talked about agriculture, housing, digital superhighway, SMEs. Kazi Maju actually struck a nerve on me because that's total brain drain. I think more work should be done, should be made here so that Kenyans stay home and build this country, but we're sending them out. Fine. Housing jobs, where we're saying we're creating jobs for people to go and build establishments, which means kazi ya mjengo. We have engineers, doctors, teachers, people graduating in millions every single year. I don't know if all of us are supposed to go build things. I have a question for you. I also want to understand on your perspective, those policies you've mentioned that are infrastructures, that create infrastructures where institutions are magnified, all that chain of thought, just one policy that has rendered the cotton and blue economy agriculture downpour. Mind you, this is Kenya Kwanza government, meaning bottom up, meaning hustler, meaning all these things. Let's talk about those people you guys campaigned with. I want to know, is there any policy that has fully focused on elevating people from poverty to actually access these things, that has taken more kids to school, that has brought healthcare to the people, that has created sustainability for these hustlers we keep talking about?
Before I pass it on, healthcare to the people, I think we can come on that, but let me just pick one because you've asked a raft of many questions. Kazi Maju, you've called it a brain drain.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it is.
Okay.
Today, if you look, I don't know whether you saw the headlines today. The fact remains that we have hit 5.6 billion US dollars in remittances. Now, let me ask a question. Would you call that brain drain?
Yeah, 100%, because
oh,
these
really?
are still
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Really?
Remittances,
our cousins, no, wait, our family members. So what you're saying is our family members to come back here and work where? No. No equation in the world works like that. Right. Let me give you an example. Dubai today. Dubai, I'm giving you an example.
100%.
America is a great economy, right? Yeah? America is a great economy, correct?
Yeah.
How many pilots are flying for Emirates? American pilots. Are you telling me they cannot go and fly in America? Let's be serious. Let's be serious. 400,000 Kenyans are in cities of the world. Listen, they are not looking for jobs. They are working.
Okay.
And remitting funds to this. I think.
So how about the Kenyans here?
I think as we grow, we are going to go. And guess what? This issue of job creation is something that is going to be with us for the longest. No. We must continue looking. I'm telling you. No. Then that's a good policy. Is it not a good policy? Kazi Maju is not a good policy. The one we are calling labor mobility is an amazing thing, and it's working.
The policy is labor mobility. We'll take a break shortly. We'll take a break and then come back. There are questions that, Brian, you need to answer. on what policies are in place, proper policies that, you know, you can say that this is what we are working on. Labor mobility, you say, policy, to what extent is it a policy? Is it just a policy or is it a program that is has been introduced by the government? But this is the last word, where we are looking at data, insights to get to the truth. And the truth today is on that last word. The question we are asking 3 years on, do you think President William Ruto has delivered on the promise? And you can continue voting on this on our social media platforms, on YouTube and Facebook and X and Instagram, where we have the poll running. You can, you know, vote, and we'll be looking at what you're saying as well on all those platforms. Back in a moment.
This is The Last Word.
Welcome back. This is The Last Word, and here tonight we are looking at the 3 years of President William Ruto's presidency. The question is, do you think President Ruto has delivered on his promise? What's the last word on it? What we are doing right now is looking at data and insights right here with a live audience. Of course, Eric Latif, Sharon Mumanyi, and Zaha Indimuli, plus a panel that's here with us tonight. And as we were taking the break, it was a question that had been asked to Gabriel on, you know, what are the policies in place? And he talked about one policy, the Kazi Majuu program. But Brian, what other policies are in place? You talked about all these other things. You said, you know, there's agriculture, there's, you know, the social side. What policies specifically are you talking about?
Thank you, Lati, for that opportunity. Clearly, when I was giving my pointers, it is basically what the roadmap now for the first year, vis-a-vis the better plan. In microeconomics, we've seen something we call, in my reference, because for me, I deal with data and insight.
Perfect.
What progress for the government? Actually, which I was telling you the first year and the second year, you know, the health laws. The health laws. One of the laws that we passed, and it is working, that's why we have what we call SHA as an authority. We have the 4 laws around it. That is one, Social Health Authority Law. There's FIF, what you call the Facility Improvement Fund. Then we have the law of DHI, that now constitute the DHA, the digital aspect. We have again on the aspect of the labor mobility, is part of the regulations, adding in what my colleague talked about. And we have what we're talking about, the Kazi Majuu entirely, is part of the global labor strategy, which is part of the It is not only stories, but it's anchored under the global labor strategy, under the PS. The other law around it, most of them are regulations. You know, there are different stages of making a law and making it stages, because the final place is at the parliament. Now, if I go granular to what the progress we've done as a government in 2 minutes. One, under the better promises, the overall economy we've talked about, I don't want to digress more from there. In 2022, we were at 4.9%. But now, as of 2024, we came down to 4.6, the actual data. We are now doing tabulation for the 3rd year. Cost of living and inflation, as of September 2023 on 13, it was 9.2%. But as of February this year, we were at 3.5%. That is data verified. Talk about the public finance and issues of revenue. The current government went full throttle on the issue of digitization. That's why you have the citizen. The current revenue-based collection from 1.9 trillion in 2022, the previous government, to now a tune of 2.7 trillion. That is estimated.
No, we're talking about the reality.
I'm talking, yes, that's the fact about the reality.
2.3 trillion.
Yes.
Is how much you've collected. You've never hit 2.7.
Pardon?
Never hit 2.7. It's 2.3. You're estimating that in this year it will be 2.7 trillion.
Yes, we are in September. Actually, we're in September.
Let's talk about
already 2.3.
The concluded year,
yes,
was 2.4.
Good. Correct. Okay. Now I'm giving of 2025 by then. Yes. Thank you. We still in the same bracket. Now, talk about the fiscal issues of deficit. There's reorganization. When the president came in place, there was high issues of deficit and all that. That's why you saw the laws from the Treasury, the PS and the CS working, and the president even made it clear in the media that he had to reorganize. You know, all this comes down to the loan. You get it? One of the strategies that the president took, and is on record, is that he had to reorganize the loans to reduce the pressure on what? Fiscal what? We were on a certain limit, but now, as per the GDP, it gives us a good level. We were in a grey list at first, remember? Now we are better off.
Okay.
Talk about the public debt. That is what I've added on that one. Cost of basic food has come down, not much, but it has dropped negligibly to make a Kenyan. I can give a good example. 2022, our cost of unga was 250 shillings. Now it's trading at an average of 165.
Brian,
agriculture.
Thank you. I think let's bring in William Ramogi. He's an economist.
Correct.
So Ramogi, you can confirm all these things that have been said, whether it's actually true on paper, but also because you're an economist, answer the question that every Kenyan keeps asking. So the macros appear to be having some ticks that we can tick, but how come the people are not feeling it at the micro level?
Well, thank you. I'm hoping I'll get a microphone at some point.
The mic is there.
Lovely. Thank you, and I'm glad to be in this show. I think my only undoing is you denied us the lyrical poem from Gatundu, the fat elephant and the lean goat, and the amphibian on the hot rod, Ulitukatia. But I think I've also received some very good lyrics from the government. First of all, let me correct Gabriel Bwana. You are misleading Kenyans. I think you're misleading Kenyans. And allow me, don't clap, I'm not a politician, please. And allow me to explain how and why. First of all, on the sugar, Bwana, we have capacity to produce 832,000 tons of sugar per annum as a country. And this is assuming that every factory in the Republic produces at capacity. The sugar consumption per capita in the year is in the country is around 21.6 kg, translating to around 1.2 million tons in a year. In other words, in any given year, there's a deficit of around 400,000 tons of sugar that the Kenyan Republic needs. Now, are you telling me that somehow we had a deficit of 400,000 in 2024, but we did not import any sugar? And and we are not importing, but we have a deficit of 400,000 every year.
Ramogi, we are more healthy. We are not taking as much.
Bwana, don't joke. I mean, a lie is a lie. Even if you paint it white, it is still a lie. No, I'm talking about sugar. Per capita consumption is the sugar you eat. And you look like you eat some of it. Now, let me come to the answer, the question which you asked, which is, where are we as a country, and why is there a disparity between our macro and micro? First of all, some of the things that Kiprono said are accurate. Some, of course, are lyrical, like the fat elephant. And one of the things that is accurate is the monetary policy. We've actually made progress on it. Our inflation was very high when these guys came to power. And the other problem that we had was the problem of debt. President Uhuru, before Ruto came, did some accelerated growth strategy that made him to borrow excessively. And by the time these guys were coming, we are on the brink of default, because we had 2 euro bonds that were pending, and they were all in dollars. And we had the SGR loan, which was running into $1 trillion, and it was also borrowed in dollars. And we still had our domestic borrowing, or our domestic debt, which was forming half of the debt stock. And so all evidence were to the point that we are going to default. But somehow, somewhere, these guys have managed, working in cahoots with the IMF and their fiscal consolidation program, not to push us towards that default that was imminent. So to that effect, I think Waswahili wanasema mgala muwe na haki yake umpe. But the fact that the ship was going to sink and these guys have saved us from sinking, does it therefore mean that we are safe? On the contrary, they have saved us from drowning, but they are eating us in this ship. and let me explain. One of the problems that we are having is on Mchana, they are saying there is austerity. And we agree that, yes, where we are, we cannot embark on ambitious infrastructure project at the moment. But we need to have money circulating in the economy. However, on the other hand, you see some very extravagant expenditure on the people that are in power. State House itself spends around 27 billion. Now, the CBA that we are talking about is around 33 billion per annum. In other words, if State House, where these 2 gentlemen come from, can reduce on their greed a little, we can actually pay the CBA without sweating. If they can, no, for real, let's just be sincere. If they can, really, how much does the State House need? It's a group of less than 1,000 people. How much do they need per annum? Do they really need 27 billion per annum? That's almost what Parliament spends, you know. If they can reduce on their greed just a little, we can pay the CBA. If then we go to Parliament and we also tell Parliament, bwana achaneni na hizi allowances mnataka mingi, let's reduce that significantly, then we can pay the teachers, we can pay the doctors comfortably. I'm finishing. And let me finish by saying this. President Uhuru Kenyatta told us that 1/3 of government budget goes into stealing or corruption. It's what these fine gentlemen go home with when we are not watching. Now, please don't clap. Don't clap. They'll think I'm vying. I'm not vying. So the important thing is, if that money were to be used properly, I'm telling you, no parent will need to pay for education, because that gentleman is telling us that they have put laws. But law, anybody can pass law. Law is not food. Law is not the price of unga. You're telling us the price of unga now is 160. By the time Uhuru was leaving and their subsidy, it was around 170. It had come down to even 150, I think. So law is not food, Bwana Kiprono. We need food that is actually affordable, 100 shillings per kg. And then telling us stories of some shops. Some shops are selling at 100. It makes no sense. I buy unga at 170. Where I live, in Nairobi. I don't know where you buy it at 100. Maybe you go to Gatundu and buy it at 100. And the gentleman from Gatundu can tell us. No. So if we can actually do that, deal with corruption. I know it was not their promise because they knew that corruption will be part of their administration. It's only that now the World Bank is fighting them, so they have to look like they are fighting corruption. But if we can fight corruption, we will pay all our teachers. No parent will have to sell land. People in my village are selling land to turn their children to the university. No parent will need to sell land to send their child to school. It will be free of charge. If we can actually save that money that these gentlemen are going home with when we are not watching, we can actually build hospitals and actually pay doctors and nurses. This is the last time I'm talking, so allow me just to finish. And finally, Bwana Kiprono, it is not so much about how many laws you put in place, whether it is the digital highway or the SHA. It is at the end of the day, are these people feeling it? These guys are university students and they are telling you they are not feeling your education policy. These guys are also having parents that need medical assistance and they are telling you, no, SHA is not being felt in the villages. I am a farmer and I am telling you that I am not feeling your fertilizer. In my village, we are not getting it. I don't know, maybe in Getundu they are getting it. But in my village, we are not getting it. Thank you.
Yep. A few of the audience.
Where you got it wrong, the mic is not working, but I hope I'm...
It is working.
So just keep, but it's okay. Where you got it wrong, on the 1 million metric tons, our local production, and I hope this reflects on your data, we have achieved 900,000, which is a fact. And that is why you had in February, the Deputy President saying, for the first time in 16 years, we are not going to import sugar. And if anything, we're going to import less. Let me repeat, less than 100,000 metric tons. If that is not short of a miracle, you tell me what is.
Gabriel Muduma, are you saying that when it comes to sugar production, we have surpassed our demand? We have produced more than we need to consume?
No. Okay. What I told you
is... So we
is...
still have a deficit?
A very short one. We've nearly covered it.
We have a deficit.
In case we are to import less than 100, to me, that's more than amazing. And we've never been here.
The point you're clarifying,
Eric, we've never been here.
William said that it's not possible that we do not import.
And that's why I'm
countering
saying
that. Are you
No. I said from what we have, we've been bringing nearly 1 million. That's what. What I said was we have succeeded. In getting 900,000 metric tons of sugar. It has never happened locally. It has never happened in nearly 16 years. So our deficit is only if we are to import 100,000 metric tons.
Well,
and to me, yes, but
unless
no. I think that's where the red herring is. You said, Eric, and to be fair, you said, why are we heading in the right direction? Have we done something in 3 years? And that speaks for itself, if we are to be honest.
Sawa. Ladies, there's the issue here which William has touched on very many fronts, which is, yes, all these things are happening, but then there's the issue of accountability. And the citizens feeling like, there's no accountability on the side of government.
100%. Yeah. I think... I think we need to take a breath, Kenyans. The room is enraged, you see, I feel like let's take this story back to realities that are not unga, that are not fertilizer. Let's take it to the actual experience of Kenyans. And I'd want us to have a little bit of reflection back to 2024. As we look at development also is catalyzed by the rule of law and how Kenyans experience their own citizenship within the country. And Eric, you've asked a question, who holds the accountability? From the people who have been killed in our streets, from the missing Kenyans we still do not know where. Mr. Mudama, I've met you before because of femicide, if you remember. And if you don't, I met you in Mwanaisha. Femicide is still on a crisis. We still have so many issues harboring Kenyans. So when it comes to accountability, Eric, I believe we are on a staggering, failing dead point, because I've seen so many committees being made by the government from the task. It's always a task force and a committee. Does it trickle down to the fact that I still do not know where these young people who are disappeared, where femicide victims have gone to, and their perpetrators running away from Muthaiga police station as if we don't have police? I don't feel it where I sit as a citizen.
Right, and maybe we want to hear about what the government is doing, in terms of upholding the rule of law, tackling the menace of extrajudicial killings. There's wanton violations of human rights. And we've seen this kind of engagement, particularly in the last year, between the government and the call for accountability in this sense. And maybe before you answer that, Kiprono, that we can take two comments, particularly around issues of accountability and the rule of law. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, my names are Moses Gitau or Sesko. I'm just going straight to the question we have today. And the answer is, it's a big no. It's a big no. The government has not worked, it is not going to work, and it will never work. Hustler dream turned into Kenya nightmare. Nothing is moving, only the fuel prices, and they're not moving downwards, they're moving upwards. Tukisema, tunakuja kupeana laws na policies, normal mwananchi does not understand that. Bottom up just turned to be top. That is the honest truth. Government PR, we can hear what the government PR is. Government PR is stronger than the economy of Kenya. And I wish to pass mic to someone else, because it's so frustrating that you're sitting here. Yeah, vibaya sana.
Tulia. Usikasirike sana. Let's we need to hear a lady at least.
There's a lady there. Oh, is there?
Yeah, so there's a lady with a mic.
Okay.
And then there's a lady at the front here.
As well here.
So let's hear from the ladies. Let's try and focus now on what Sharon has said, the rule of law and accountability.
Yeah. Okay.
And whether the government is delivering.
My name is Yuxavia Kwamboka, and I just want to summarize the relationship we have between us and the government. It's a very toxic relationship. A relationship full of a lot of promises, but nothing is being fulfilled. Now, I actually want to congratulate the president for using a very good and very sweet strategy of using the poor and religion. That's a very good mix if you want to get elected. So he used the poor and brought this word, the hustler fund, the hustler nation and all that. There's no hustler at all who's benefiting from this government. From all these policies that he's saying, what exactly is working? I've been talking to people who are being who are being given, so that who are being paid to attend rallies by him, so that they can shout the whole, so that they can promote. People think that he's actually being supported out here, but nobody is benefiting from that government at all. Nothing is working. Hospitals, everything is on a standstill. And the whole idea of the rule of law, there's no rule of law in this country actually. The way he was really passionate about hustlers and everything, when someone was being shot at a very close range, we didn't see that rage of a hustler has been shot. A man was just selling masks on a random day. He was shot. We didn't see that rage of hustler ameuliwa, hustler amekufa. You know, I want to see that rage in alikuwa nayo when he was campaigning that, you know, I love the hustlers, I love, you know, all these people that are hustling. None of that is happening. Mama Mbogas allegedly were being shot in Githurai during protest. None of that has been aired out. Why? Please, I want us to help us explain this point, because I want to see that rule of law. Where is it coming exactly?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lady at the front.
My name is Juliet, and I'm gonna at first I'll support, and the second point I'll contradict. Okay. Okay. On the issue of the accountability, we can just say like when you look at the community health workers, they're being supported, not unlike the other past government. But when you look at the data notation, are you trying to say like those people who are killed, those people who have been killed, like hiyo story imenyamaziwa, ama we have been moved to the dark box and we are like, okay, wow, this is the government we want to be ruled in? No.
Kuna task force ya compensation. Somebody else at the back.
Okay, so permit me to let you to honor this tantalizing opportunity. My name is Trevor Seiko, a student leader, a member of the Revolutionary Student Commission, and a student in the University of Nairobi pursuing economics. So for my per se, my contribution, my projection to the government is it has taken a downward trajectory in that we see the statistics in that when we look at the loans being given. Loans are not supposed to be given to the students. The students are supposed to be benefiting from the loans as grants. Why are you convicting the students to take loans, yet you can just give them grants to support their academics, because they're the innovations who are going to take the country to the next substantial level, and they're going to give the country an upward trajectory which is going to make it magnificent. And then I also want to contribute to the fact that we are making it a tendency of taking advantages of rights of students. Rights like education are not supposed to be taken advantage of. Why are you making sure that the students are going to the streets to commend like the government which is not working? Why yet you can just listen, or you can get a memo and then you make impacts and go and tell them like we are going to make this change? But that's the contrary, because we are working in a state government whereby students are they're compelled to go to the streets for them to get their rights aired out. And then I also want to speak about the fact that we are not giving the citizens a right to own the factors of production. Why are citizens not owning the means of production, yet you can make sure that they still own the means of production to actually make themselves or profit themselves at the individual level? You are taking the production to the state-owned province, whereby you are making it your own instead of making it for the citizens. I also want to share out that the government has made it a policy that the students or the teachers are not getting their rights aired out. I want to stop by there, but I want to say that let us enhance accountability. Impunity is being unpunished. Impunity is being unraveled in the country, and yet we are not taking commendable measures to make sure this is not the issue. Thank you. And
thank you. Buddha, your hot button is hot. It was hot. Yeah?
The microphone.
Hey, it was a really hot button.
We're supposed to be giving grants instead of loans.
We have a gentleman here with a Msewatai to ski.
My name is Kilonzi Christopher from KU, and I want to tackle the issue of accountability, because I believe that whatever is making the bottom-up economy not working, it is a broken system. The government that is being run right now is broken. Everything is not working. The promises that were made, let me quote one William Ruto said about the education. He said, he talked about 100% transition, right? Right now, as we talk, 5 out of 10 students in my school, especially the first lot of the new funding model, are at a verge of calling off their semesters or dropping off from school. How is that 100% if 5, that is around 50% of every person who is in school, is not being able to raise their school fees? We talked about, he promised, during his speech, during his swearing in, he talked about subsidizing production rather than subsidizing consumption, right? We talked about giving out fertilizers, that is subsidizing their fertilizers and stuff. You talked about the production of maize increasing significantly this year, but how is that translating into the prices of every? We talked about a bottom-up economy where the little or the common mwananchi is supposed to benefit. We talked about lowering the cost of living. Instead, just days into the government, VAT on fuel was doubled from 8% to 16%. How is that benefiting common mwananchi when taxes have been increased? Pay as you earn is increased. VAT is increased on every product. How is that benefiting the common mwananchi? How is that serving the interest of bottom-up economy? Instead, everything is just remaining as it was. It is remaining on top.
Asante, asante. Pass the mic behind you, and let's pick one person and let's hear what you think. We are talking about. You can check the mic. Accountability, rule of law.
Hi everyone. My name is Ireri Nyaga, a woke Kenyan. What I'll say when it comes to accountability is, unfortunately, and you have to say, the gentleman has said that we are living a lie. No matter how you sugarcoat a lie, it can never be a truth. Now we've been told, like we've been asking, how much are we spending on a certain project? We have seen, it's very good that we have improved. There's no Subarus outside. We are improving, but there's no accountability in government. Tunaambiwa story. Mr. Kiprono has mentioned Talenta Hela. The Gen Z wanauliza hela ziko wapi? You know? And if you look at the clip you just showed us about the strike that's coming up, you wonder, are we going to solve the problem by inviting people to State House? Like, for instance, I saw the principals just the other day. They are State House. When they come to the schools, then you are being told that the capitation italetwa. You know, unless all Kenyans, where they are, even in diaspora, we get invited to State House, we see those projects that are happening. When it comes to the rule of law, it depends who is taking the court, who is taking the case to a court of law. If you don't have money, unfortunately, you cannot survive in our country. I think it's high time that we put our government a check, and let's not fear, and let's talk truth to the power, because I think a few individuals, they are selling an agenda that people are not hearing. I plead with the government. I plead with William Ruto. Please, the president, please listen to the people of the Kenyans. Because let's not look at the figures, inflation, and it's like we are doing this so that we can please numbers.
Asante.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Thank you.
Made. Ian Mutiso is an advocate of the High Court, and he's been in court representing various people. Ian Mutiso is currently representing a group of youth who are facing terror charges. Ian Mutiso is representing a group of youth who've been arrested. They're filmmakers and so on and so forth. From where you sit, Ian, in terms of observance of the rule of law, and I want you to compare, say, in this administration, we are seeing a certain degree of observance or not with the rule of law, and compare it to the previous administrations.
Okay, so earlier this year, ICJ published a report called the Missing Voices. In that report, we had about 154 people who were linked to extrajudicial killings. Out of the 154, 104 were related to police-induced disappearances, okay? 104. That's in court. Item number 2, we have the state, and luckily enough, we have a representative from the executive. We have the president issuing executive directives, right? Recently, we had the panel on compensation. There are constitutional offices which are mandated to engage and collect this data, and more so, we even have the Victim Protections Board, which have that particular office. We're having duplication of service. That's not the rule of law. Point number 3. When we look at what has been happening in the past few days, one of the key things that is jumping out on my mind, we have a situation whereby the executive, more so the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, yesterday alone suggested a court order is mainly a suggestion to them. This is an attorney, a counsel admitted to the bar. This is somebody who takes directive from the executive. When we have somebody of such stature speaking like that, we're in a lost cause type of a situation. Now, from my perspective and how I look things, I think we need to do a lot of introspective and do a radical surgery on every single thing. The representative from the executive just stated that the odious debt has actually sort of reduced. From my records, I know since March up to July 2025, there's over 1 trillion which was borrowed by President Ruto. Out of that 1 trillion, only 180 billion was actually allocated to development. The 890 billion is unknown. This week, we had the state spending over how much? Is it 100 to 200 million per week? Yeah. Where is that money coming from? Is it coming from the consolidated fund? Is that the rule of law? So for me, we're in a very bad trajectory. As it is right now, everything has to be questioned. What is the state doing? We have all of these Kenyans who have undergone terror charges in Kahawa, from Boniface Mwangi to all this number of people. Up to date, I can tell you this, even today, there were charges which were dropped against 15 people, because these charges are trumped up. Literally, anybody who speaks on standing on this constitution, I came with a copy here. This thing is being abused by the state. And the more we keep quiet and not hold accountable to people like the DCI and Safaricom, we are going to lose this country.
Thank you,
Privacy
Ian.
laws are just, they're not being considered.
Thank you, Ian. We'll come back to the audience. Let's hear from Monase. Monase, you're also an active citizen and, you know, you even go to court as well on these issues. Talk about that, rule of law and accountability. Where are we? Where do we lie?
Thank you. Good evening. First, I'd like to acknowledge the audacity of a government so proud to come and speak only about unga and sugar. There must be so much more that we can achieve. And then also to come and bring data forth, the same government that can't account for 1.3 trillion shillings in a 9-month period. So if we look at accountability, we have a huge challenge in numerous perspectives. Tying it back into the conversation that we've started already, 1.3 trillion, which is about a quarter of the annual budget, being unaccounted for in 9 months with complete impunity. It's a budget, it's a number that's thrown out and nothing ever happens. No one is held responsible.
Let me ask on that. When you say unaccounted for, are you saying that the Auditor General has been unable
that was as per the Auditor General's report.
to account for this?
That was last year, 1.3 trillion. Now, if we quantify that into everyday life, over 50 years, 50, that would be an expenditure of 71 million shillings every day for 50 years. So that's how much, just like that, goes into their pockets when we're not watching, as my friend said. Now, what is this regime being remembered for? What can we feel? I think many things stand out. They're murdering our children, our parents, our sisters, our brothers, breadwinners, families. They are quick to pay for a state burial of 18 children, but not put in place safety mitigation measures that could have prevented a whole dorm from burning. No one was ever held accountable for those murders. When we talk about extrajudicial killings, torture, abductions, enforced disappearances, and these murders are being live streamed on national TV, and our very own PhD holder has the audacity to say, tell me the names and I'll take firm and decisive action. And then we go to present those names to his very office when armed thugs in no uniform and police come to try and pick you up off the very street. This regime will be remembered for people showing up in morgues, in dams, in quarries, I would say for having billions of shillings, millions of shillings worth of advisors and committees and task forces with non-effectiveness. Rule of law, I think, continues to be suspended when we see our police force working hand in hand with armed citizens. A government that will sustain poverty, sustain it intentionally, so that that 500 shillings can be used to send you out onto the streets to brutalize, to harass, to beat, and even to rape our own citizens, your own brothers and sisters. So when poverty is intentionally sustained, it's then able to be weaponized.
Yeah.
Among many other issues, I would say, does rule of law exist in this country? It does exist. This government and this current president, I think, is also remembered for escaping ICC by just a thread. Although you can run, but you can't hide. So ultimately, his fate...
But it's not being observed.
Sorry, there is a rule of law. It is not being observed.
Okay.
No independent bodies are actually independent. IPOA, any of these parastatals that are meant to oversee. Even, it's unfortunate that reports can come out of the Auditor General's office, although there's no further action. Parliament is in the pockets.
Thank you.
Judiciary is hanging by a thread. But one thing we can remember this government for is for reminding the people that power belongs to them, and for encouraging us to continue to take action.
Thank you, Monase. We have 10 minutes to the conclusion of this, and of course we've got to give Brian some right of reply to some of these issues and questions that have been raised. But let's hear from a couple of more people, and then we shall come to conclude with the last word. How many ladies have not spoken? Okay, there we go.
There's one more behind there. Okay.
All right, let's hear from her.
My name is Karia Tetu from the University of Nairobi, and my question is, why should the teachers come to the State House and receive some tokens while the dons are on streets? Why can't you just take the money and pay the dons? Sorry?
Okay.
Why should the teachers go to the State House and receive some tokens while the dons are on streets asking for payments? Why can't you just take the money and pay the dons so that the university students continue to read while the government is taking money to give out? Why can't you just take and pay the fees to the students?
Okay.
Thank you.
Pass the mic behind you.
All right, thank you. I just want to echo on what he had said once again. And
your name, please.
My name is Tony Blair Kennedy. I'm from Nyatike constituency. I'm the head of the Nyatike Youths and Comrades Alliance. I'm representing Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. The comrades sent me to echo on two things, but to avoid redundancy of what has been said, because you have the government representatives here, I want to say it very clear that before I get back to the education sector, last year I'm a statistics student, and I realized that Bithika Linturi, the former CS, once stated that even though the agricultural sector is performing, there was post losses in the harvests that was amounting to 72 million annually. And this was 30 to 40% of the post harvests that were there. What are the policies or the mechanisms that the government has put in place to make sure that it is reduced either by a half, as they had said, and why by half, if not all? Okay. Number two is about the funding model that has been said. If you look at the portal today, you are learning in a public institution and your fee balance is reading 270,000. It is really embarrassing. The new funding model is not working, and probably if they say we are going to pay fee this semester, most of us are going to defer.
Thank you.
Take this information.
Thank you. Pass the mic behind you, but we shall come there. Let's go to this side. Okay, the guy in green. The guy raising a green. Gentleman in a white shirt. Usigrab bwana, mpatie haki yake kwanza.
Okay, let me just...
The one holding a green. The one holding a green.
Let me just share my two cents,
Let's have order,
Eric.
please.
Because we are standing...
Please pass on the mic to the one holding the green.
He has agreed.
And then he shall come to you.
Okay. Thank you, Latif, for the justice.
We are a country of order, right?
Thank you, Latif, for the justice. Okay, my name is Mesha Kumondi. I'm an economist. And honestly, I'm really glad that I'm speaking because I've had time to hear a lot of things in the conversation. And the conversation is very constructive because I find it very fundamental for the country that we live in and that we love. Now, I have one question and one other comment. The first one is that I think Kiprono mentioned that we've really improved in terms of revenue collections. About 2.3, estimately 2.3 there. Now, I just want to ask, because I'm an economist and I like to analyze data. Now, we are an economy which is 17.9 trillion Kenya shillings, right? That is the GDP that we have, around roughly $120 billion to 130, roughly from 120 to 130 billion USD dollars. I'm just wondering, an economy of 17.9 trillion, how will we raise only 2.3 trillion? I think that is a question that maybe you can go and discuss with fellow economists in State House and they can maybe bring us answers later. Okay. But the second one, and this is very quick, the second one is, I'm really interested in public debt. And of all things we've mentioned, public debt have not received the attention that I quite really want. Right now, every 100 Kenya shillings that government takes, 70 of it goes to repayment of debt. That is very unsustainable because that means less money, less schools, less healthcare, less agriculture, less everything in the country. We really need to have a policy framework that actually will help us address public debt. And I had a suggestion, and maybe because I'm really glad the economist is here, do you think that we should have independent public commission that is specialized in debt? This is an institution that will be given a full mandate to monitor, track, provide a borrowing strategy to the country, because I realize that most often times we talk about public debt, it is always overshadowed by politics, or maybe we don't even give it attention. We only give it attention during time when there's public crisis. Thank you.
So let's hear a final comment from a gentleman who had really wanted to have a mic.
Thank you so much for the order. The comrade that has spoken before me has talked enough wisdom. My name is Mark Sugola. I work with an organization called Civic Lens Kenya that analyzes issues like this on YouTube. You can find us there. I just want to answer the question you asked, the reason why we came today, so that substantively we finish from my end, whether Ruto was delivered. To answer whether Ruto was delivered, we have to understand the deliverables that we are looking at Ruto against. I'm a lawyer, and I took a look at Ruto's manifesto. I've heard everyone speak, and you give so much time to these government officials who lie to us, yet comrades are seated here with facts to analyze. And I hope moving forward, and I hope thank you, I do, thank you. And I hope moving forward, if this is a comrade show, you can scrap them off so that you hear our voices. Now let's go on to the main point. Yes. Ruto's manifesto had three things. The first thing Ruto wanted was to uphold the Constitution. If you read the first page of that document, he has not upheld the Constitution. Ruto ordered that we be short when we were demonstrating. And he came later to explain himself that he wanted us short in the legs, but he wanted us short. Then Ruto also talked about institutionalizing the politics. This, I have said, Ruto has done that. Ruto has tried to take away the Mount Kenya region dominance by replacing Rigathi Gachagua and Kindiki. And this is his own way of institutionalizing politics and taking away the Mount Kenya 30% region from them and giving now share to people like Duale and regionalizing Western and Nyanza. Then the third thing was the bottom-up economy. The bottom-up economy was to be viewed against three lenses. The lens of microeconomics, which I've heard them talk about, the lens of healthcare, which I've heard them not talk about, and of course, the lens of housing, affordable housing. Now let's evaluate. When we're talking of the first bit of microfinance, border borders and mamambogas are complaining that Ruto rode on their backs to get into power and forgot them. News bites are there, you can find them even in NTV, of these people coming clearly to say Ruto lied to them. So he has not delivered. If we are talking about the second ambit of that, which was what, if you remember well? Okay, none of you remembers. That is good. Health, thank you, Eric Latif. On health, we saw the transition from NHIF to SHA. And Ruto had a very good reason for this transition if you read the manifesto. His intention was this. He was saying NHIF, one person was contributing from their household and the entire household was depending on it, even if the other members of the household were also earning. So he convinced us that we required something that was not being deducted just from our salaries, but everyone would be part of as universal health coverage. What we saw with the system is Duale and Aden Mohammed getting money into their own accounts with hospitals like Ladnan Hospital receiving over 66 million. So Ruto might have intended a good thing, but the people that are enforcing that system have lied to Ruto. Then on the third one,
housing.
Ruto has delivered on affordable housing, but we have to ask ourselves, how has he delivered? This conversation looks at Ruto at 3. And Ruto at 3, as we speak right now, there is really no one who can say they are living in affordable housing. We can cut him some slack that it's work in progress, but he has not delivered. So as I conclude, Ruto has not delivered.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the last one.
Literally done our job for us.
All right, so let's just give Kipronos the mic. Let's hear Brian. You've got a couple of issues to respond to. Yeah? Victim compensation. Let's first hear from Brian. Brian Kiprono. Make it quicker. Yes. Let's try the other mic.
Thank you.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll give 4 pointers on the question by Sharon. Accountability and the rule of law. Number one, recently, 3 months ago, the head of the state, His Excellency the President, signed into law the conflict of interest bill, which was contentious, you remember. It was turned back by his demand that we want to correct it right and mandated the parliament. Number two, President recently again, remember, he decried on the corrupt leaders. You remember that? Mm-hmm. That is point on the issue of the accountability. Mm-hmm. There is one thing again that he has done. Point number 3 is this government streamlining on aspect of, we complain, all of us, we say more money is being squandered through issues of procurement. You know what is at hand currently. The e-procurement, electronic. That one is on law, clearly on the issue of procurement. By law, it's stated that it's either manual or electronic. Mm-hmm. The only thing is, with Kenyans, it's not. Remember this issue of e-procurement was brought in place in 2020. It was passed in 2020 in Parliament as a bill by the last government. The fourth one, under the presidency and the leadership of His Excellency the President, we talk about the issue of streamlining the healthcare sector. Introduction of the new health laws, which brought in place SHA, brought in place the issues of having the new proposition by him, reducing the issue of more money in one place, but now from preventive to reducing the curative issue to preventive, bringing in place the issue of the SHA. I'll explain on that, because, so I've given my 4 pointers on what is being worked on, clearly. That shows his commitment. And remember, he has committed on the issue of criminal justice that let the arms take its course. A good example which has been mentioned in this group, and it's on record. The officer who did the heinous act along Moi Avenue, you know now he's on remand. It didn't take it, yes, he's in remand, and that's the judicial service. It's not, it has taken its course, right? Number two, on the issue of judiciary, that's all arm on its own. It's independent. The president has given judiciary to do its work. However, everyone has a comment and a point on that one, and that's a good example. Let me talk on something that before we close, Latif, and I know you know it better. 3 things that we can account. It can be a comment to everyone. The issue of SHA, and basically is not SHA. SHA is an authority. It's what we call Taifa Care. Taifa Care was one of the, under the Better Plan Pillar Healthcare. If you go back, members and Kenyans, go and see, it was a promise, and a promise kept. Digitizing the health, to have one government record on the health record across the country. Number 2, introduction, his need of now transiting, because when you are doing the campaign, we realized Kenyans were complaining and asking, President, we have issues on the health sector, which is true, because of the devolved function of it. Bringing in place the new funds, he proposed he'll have a fund to take care of the chronic diseases, because the data shows in NHIF data that we were treating more on this long and terminal illness, the issues of dialysis, cancer. That is cared of by what he meant in the law, the ECCI fund under SHA. You know SHA has 3 funds. One of the funds is Primary Health Care Fund that takes care of the local. You see, when the president tells you go to level 2 and 3 to get the care.
Let's not explain again.
The last bit of Inua Jamii.
Yeah.
This is a president who has have a continued approach on Inua Jamii, the elderly, taking care of them by giving them their monthly what? Bit.
The 2,000 shillings to the
correct.
elderly.
Today, before that. Number 3, aspect of affordable housing. Yes, I've just started with the point of SHA. Yeah. Number 2 was Inua Jamii. Remember, even we are going further, that in the coming days, we are going to have a plan for the elderly and the indigents in the society on elevating the health care of those people. Housing, the bit of affordable housing, we cannot forget accounting at the government at 3, Ruto at 3, the issue of affordable housing. Currently, if the total portfolio of affordable housing, it did start today. It started at the time of the previous, but it accounts to nearly the highest percentage of the building across the country, which was again diversified. The affordable housing project is not like the way it was in the previous governments, where it was focused on city or urban areas. Today you get in all different 290 constituencies, at least a project across the country.
Thank you.
The last bit to talk about what the president has done for the local mama mboga and border borders, the issue of KIPES, the issue of social economic zones. These are the things that are brought in place to give more people, business people, to work and make business.
When you come back to look at Ruto at 4,
yes,
is when we shall look at KIPES, because none is complete. Is when we shall look at special economic zones, because they are not complete. Is when we shall look at housing, because they are not complete.
But I'm happy that you agree it is in work in progress.
We don't know.
This is work in progress. Today we are just from Mombasa.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Brian.
you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
Serikali imemaliza kuongea. You can't say housing. You can't say housing is not complete. You can't say housing is not complete.
Serikali imemaliza kuongea.
Huwezi kusema pia mimi ni serikali. Si umeniita mimi serikali pia. But you can't say the housing is not complete.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, I just want to respond to some few points.
You don't have the mic.
Eric, on a serious
Gabriel,
note,
you don't
can't
have the
say,
mic.
no, you can't say the house is not complete.
250,000 housing units per year. Do we have 250,000 housing units per year? No, we don't
We have houses that
we
are
only
complete.
launched 3,000 houses in
That are
Nakuru.
complete.
That's
That are
it.
complete.
Yes.
That
so
are
not
complete.
That. Thank you. Thank you. Sharon,
Yes.
what's our last word?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can agree that there's a lot to unpack, and we haven't scratched much of the back, really. But we have... Gabriel, we can continue this conversation on our platforms, our other platforms. So we need to get to the last word. And we've canvassed a lot of issues. The question we are asking is, has President William Ruto, the Kenya Kwanza administration, made good on their promise to Kenyans 3 years into this government? And we have framed this conversation by around the pillars, that formed the pledge of the president to Kenyans. And let's use data to help us arrive at our last word tonight. And what we are saying is that there's some areas that have reported progress. There are some areas that have a lot that are still in wanting. On the pillar of economic stability and social programs, we see that inflation has dropped from 6.81% in 2022 September to 3.56%. This is the column that looks at the progress and the hits of this administration. And on healthcare progress, the uptake, as much as there's a lot that we've only roughly scratched on the Social Health Authority, that an indicator of progress is the uptake. This is along the pillar of universal health coverage. And of course, the Kenya Kwanza administration was using SHA as the vehicle to promote, access and affordable healthcare. Claims worth 45 billion shillings have been processed. We are also looking at some of the hits by this government in the agriculture sector, which has to do with the fertilizer subsidies that have therefore increased food production, and also a revival of state-owned sugar factories. What has not worked, particularly to do with the economic sector, that the public debt has gone up from 8.7 trillion shillings in 2022 to 11.8 trillion shillings. This is as of May of 2025. We are also looking at the indicators of the strength of the shilling coming up in exchange rate from 120.3 in 2022 to 129.2 in 2025. Another of the misses is the Hustler Fund, that we know more than 50% of the loans are yet to be repaid. And on the affordable housing, that there are irregularities that have been marked with the implementation of this project, including a 49.5 billion shillings project that lack land ownership papers. There's also, this administration has been marred by scandals on corruption, edible oil and fertilizer scandals, all this leading to decrease in public trust. So what's the conclusion in terms of our metrics on the performance of this administration? That the President Ruto's government has made gains in the areas of inflation control, healthcare and agriculture. However, rising public debt and currency depreciation, as well as lack of accountability and transparency, undermine his core promises. And that overall, while there is visibility of progress in some areas, the bottom-up economic agenda remains only partially fulfilled. And that is the last word tonight. Many thanks for being with us. The audience that has made this conversation very lively. Obviously, so much to still talk about, and we can continue this conversation offline on our social media platforms. A big thanks to all of our guests that made the panel tonight. And my co-hosts, Zaha Ndimuli, Eric Latif. My name is Sharon Momanyi. Many thanks for watching. The Last Word happens every Tuesday, same time, same place. Have a good night.